Hello and welcome to the second and final part of this special edition of Latitude. July is an important month in the history of Sri Lanka's ethnic conflict and for India-Sri Lanka relations. For the Tamils of Sri Lanka, it is that month in 1983 when thousands of Tamils were killed in riots targeting this ethnic minority. The riots began after 13 soldiers were killed in an ambush in Jaffna by the LTTE and their bodies were brought back by the government for their last rites. Today is also the 29th of July, the day when the India-Sri Lanka Accord was signed in 1987, 38 years ago. The accord was the culmination of India's years-long intervention in Sri Lanka in an attempt to resolve the country's ethnic conflict, one that had disastrous consequences for both countries. Last week, I spoke to Varadaraju Perumal of the Elam People's Revolutionary Liberation Front about India's role in bringing about constitutional changes in Sri Lanka for the devolution of powers to the Tamil-dominated regions of Sri Lanka, and about his and the EPRLF's role in participating in the first and last elections for what was then the northeastern province, and how that experiment collapsed when the Indian peacekeeping force of the Indian Army was withdrawn from the islet in March 1990. The IPKF had taken over 1,000 casualties, over 3,000 soldiers were injured, and the VP Singh government decided that enough was enough and they called them back. In this episode, I will be talking about another event of that tumultuous year that foretold of many more tragedies to come, an assassination in Tamil Nadu. Not the assassination of Rajiv Gandhi in May 1991, but just 11 months before, almost to the day, a less talked about killing that was in fact an ominous forewarning of the killing of Rajiv Gandhi by the LTTE. This was the assassination of Kumaran Padmanaba, the leader of the EPRLF and several of his associates in Chennai on June 90, 1990. Its impact on Tamil Nadu's politics and on Sri Lanka's ethnic conflict was nothing less than seismic. It took several years for the DMK to recover politically from that event. In Sri Lankan Tamil politics as well, the assassination was LTTE's deadly message that it would brook no rivals to its claim to be the sole representative of the Tamil people. For this episode, I spoke to veteran journalist Bhagwan Singh, who covered the assassination as the correspondent of Sunday magazine in Chennai, and to Thambiah Shanthan, a member of the EPRLF who lives in the UK and is part of the vast Sri Lankan Tamil diaspora. I spoke to them about the assassination, the circumstances around it, who Padmanaba was, and what impact the killing had on both Indian politics and Sri Lankan politics. The assassination took place in Kodumbakkam, a crowded residential area of Madras, as Chennai was then known. The time was around 6:15 p.m. It was still broad daylight. A 6-member LTTE hit squad, armed with AK-47 rifles and hand grenades, stormed into an apartment that the EPRLF was renting at that time. The LTTE had been watching that apartment for several days. One of its members had in fact enrolled in a nearby college for this purpose. The assailants knew that K. Padmanaba, the General Secretary of the EPRLF, was going to be meeting other members of his party there. They gunned him down along with 12 of his comrades. 2 Indian people also lost their lives. Several other Indians were injured.
It was actually not very far from my house in KK Nagar. This was in Zakaria Colony in Kodumbakkam. I was having a motorbike at that time, and Maybe it took about 15-20 minutes to reach the place. It was a ghastly scene. Like I don't think you can see people like me, civilians can see that kind of a stuff in real life. You see that in Hollywood films, gory wartime or terrorist attack scenes. It's just a 2-bedroom apartment up a narrow staircase in an apartment complex. When we got the alert, and it was a police tip-off, friend in the intelligence department. And Naba was there lying, bullet-ridden body.
Padmanaba was only 38 at that time. He had formed the EPRLF in 1981. Like its parent, the Elam Revolutionary Organization of Students, also known as EROS, EPRLF too was a leftist group. The EPRLF was initially a militant organization. Padmanaba himself had been trained by the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization. But when the India-Sri Lanka Accord came into existence, the party perceived a political opening, a political solution to end the violence. It defied the liberation tigers of Tamil Elam to support the India-Sri Lanka Accord. The Accord introduced the 13th Amendment to the Sri Lankan Constitution. This amendment provided for a system of provinces, elected provincial governments, and provincial councils across Sri Lanka, but importantly for the Tamil-dominated areas. It was basically meant for the Tamil areas, but because the devolution could not be just only for the Tamil areas, because it could not be asymmetric in that way, it was carried out across the country. These areas, the Tamil-dominated areas, were called the Northeast Province. The LTTE did not want to be part of this solution. They rejected the solution. And the IPKF that had been sent by India to disarm all the militant groups and to get them to participate in this solution found itself unexpectedly fighting the LTTE. The EPRLF finally was the only Tamil party to participate in the Northeastern Provincial Council elections that took place in November 1988. The elections were held under the protection of the IPKF, so it was hardly the perfect election. Varadaraju Perumal became the chief minister of the Northeast government that was formed, but it was short-lived. In the rest of Sri Lanka, meaning the Sinhalese-dominated areas of Sri Lanka, also known as Southern Sri Lanka, the Janata Vimukti Peramuna, which was the ruling party today, had launched a violent insurrection against the Accord. They wanted Indian troops to leave Sri Lanka. They did not want the support. They were against the devolution of powers to the Tamil areas. And around that time, there was also another change in the Sri Lankan leadership. President J.R. Jayawardena, who had signed the India-Sri Lanka Accord along with Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, stepped down after 2 terms in office. His Prime Minister, Ranasinghe Premadasa, won the next presidential election, and he had made no secret of his opposition to the Accord from the day it was signed by his predecessor with the Indian Prime Minister. Premadasa refused to devolve powers to the Northeastern Provincial Government and to the Council. He wanted the IPKF out of Sri Lanka. He reached out to the LTTE, funneling cash and weapons to them so that they could fight the IPKF more effectively. In India too, the government had changed. VP Singh and the Janata Dal and their coalition, the National Front, formed the government after Congress, under the leadership of Rajiv Gandhi, lost that election. The new government reversed Rajiv Gandhi's Sri Lankan policy within days of taking office. The ruling DMK in Tamil Nadu, which was in the National Front, which was in this grand coalition that VP Singh had formed, was opposed to the presence of Indian soldiers in Sri Lanka. An impression gained ground in Tamil Nadu that the Indian army was fighting all Tamils. Many Tamils in Sri Lanka as well as in Tamil Nadu came to believe LTT's boast that it could snatch Elam, a separate Elam, from the Sri Lankan government. In a bid to save the Northeast provincial government from the collapse that was written on the wall by the end of 1989, the EPRLF pleaded with the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M. Karunanidhi to mediate with the LTT, and they also went to the External Affairs Minister I.K. Gujral in Delhi at that time and pleaded with him not to withdraw the IPKF.
When we were asking Kalaignar for the extension of the provincial council and some accommodation with LTT as a mediator, whether he could do it, he was very forthright in saying that there will be peace if the provincial council is dissolved. If you all leave it and go, if there's going to be peace. At one point, even the then Foreign Minister I.K. Gujral also, he told us in Delhi, I was part of that meeting, and he told us that everyone saying it's going to be peace. And Vararaja Perumal told the Foreign Minister that, sir, it is not going to be peace. Even if you ask a small child, they will know that there's going to be bloodshed. And we know it's going to be bloodshed. And it's not going to be peace. So this idea of that new Indian government has withdrawn the IPKF and LTT is going to be in charge, there's going to be peace, made people indifferent. They didn't think beyond that. They were relieved in a way that the IPKF is coming back. And because the last minute election propaganda in Tamil Nadu as well as central government propaganda, it was against the IPKF presently, as if IPKF was causing it. That is, IPKF was caught in the middle, that they were asked to perform a task, and then a lot of abuse were cast by the media on them. So that was the condition at the time.
See, they had a very strong network of supporters who were either sold on the Elam philosophy, the faith in Prabhakaran, that he was going to believe that he would be delivering a Tamil homeland. If you remember, you rewind a bit. The DMK started off with a Tani Tamil Nadu and then gave it up only later. So the Tamil psyche, I think, always craved for a separate state, a separate Tamil country. Had this grandiose images and dreams of the Pandya Nadu, Chola Nadu, all that. So, apart from this faith in him, in his philosophy, in his Elam principles, LTT spent a lot of money. They also bought support. The other organizations were not so clever, not so thorough. LTT also had perhaps one of the strongest intelligence wing. We were talking about how they kept watch. They knew everything that they're going to be meeting. It's very easy to know that they're going to be meeting by merely, tapping some lower level functionary of the EPRLF or the tea suppliers or the milk delivery guy. So they knew. They knew this is going to happen. They knew that Naba was going to be there.
On June 10th, 1990, the LTT launched Elam War 2. As the EPRLF had predicted to its interlocutors in both Chennai and in Delhi, there was going to be no peace. Padmanaba would be killed just 9 days later in Chennai. And 3 months after the collapse of the Northeastern provincial government. Think about it, it would be the first political assassination in Tamil Nadu after India's independence. And Padmanaba was also the only foreign political leader to be killed on Indian soil.
They were Padmanabha and the senior advisors and the team was flown to Bhubaneswar. And others, senior cadres and families, supporting families were taken by ship to, I think, Andhra Pradesh and then bus to Orissa. And they were stationed in Malkangiri, a village in Orissa. And Padmanabha was put in a guest house somewhere, and he opted to go back to the refugee camp, stayed there. He was there for 1 month in Malkangiri, around 1 month, and came to Delhi and started meeting people. And he went to Tamil Nadu also once, I think, for that. And came to Delhi. And the last time he was in Delhi when I also met him in Delhi by June. I went from UK to see him because he was asking people to come, and Vararaja Perumal also was supposed to return from Mauritius to India. And on the exact day, on 19th, he returned also from Mauritius to Mumbai. And it was 20th morning. He returned to Mumbai. So he called, Padmanabha called the MP, Doga Sangari, who was in Colombo, the former provincial finance minister, Krobaran. They arrived from Colombo on 18th night to Chennai. And Padmanabha, the last week before he went from Delhi to Chennai, he met a few leaders, and including Rajiv Gandhi, he met. And Rajiv Gandhi has mentioned that in his note on his memorial book that he met him a few days before that. He met K.D. Soran, who was in Delhi at the time, doing EPRLF representative. K.D. Soran, him and myself met Rajiv Gandhi, and he was asking about that and asking about the situation generally. And hoping that the government will continue to support and find a way to re-establish, because our aim was to get the provincial council election, proper provincial council election going instead of any interim administration. So at June 10th, LTTE also started a war against Padmanabha. June 19th, Padmanabha was killed. June 10th, LTTE started war. But as we predicted, as we told Indian government officers and Kalanja also, we told that there is going to be bloodshed. As expected, that was unfolding. So Padmanabha was trying to find, at that time, his political objective was trying to find a way to save people, reduce losses at that time, to mediate some arrangement.
So what was that meeting on June 19th for which all these people had gathered in that house in Zakaria colony in Kurumba?
There was no meeting. It was informal consultations at that time because people were asked to come, and Vararaja Perumal didn't come. And Suresh Premachandran, who was also an MP who was in Chennai at that time, he was not in the meeting. So everyone was going to meet and decide what is the next step needed. What is the program that we are going to, in fact, because everyone said this provincial council is going to go on and LTT will be given to administer it. And at some point of time, there is going to be an election to provincial council. It's where we left. And they said, now that LTT has started the war, what is the next step? So we were going to plan that and see how to defend our people.
After carrying out this bloodbath, the hit squad made their escape, covering 350 kilometers from Madras to Trichy. All the way, they hijacked a private Maruti van. They left Indian shores on an LTTE boat about 2 days later from Vedaranyam in Thanjavur district, which was then an important LTTE transit point.
They abducted this van and drove straight up to Thanjavur coast and got away. But on the way, they halted the van in a coconut grove which was on the shore, and hid the van under bushes kind of a thing. They bought chicken and fish. They cooked there and ate, rested, and only evening they sailed out. So they had all the time. Why did they have why did they do all that? They were confident. So who was giving them that confidence? The cops. The cops at a lower level would not do that. So the directions, the instructions came right from the top. So much so,
The instructions
to let them go. So much so, actually, when the assassination took place, Karunanidhi was in Delhi telling Prime Minister Chandrasekhar, who was already under pressure to dismiss the government, Karunanidhi government, and impose a president's rule. He was under great pressure from Jayalalitha on one side, saying that the Tamil militancy is pretty visible, although no incident took place through them. Only the visibility was that they were coming and going. And that the government was doing nothing, that Karunanidhi had a meeting. I think Maran was also present there, the Port Trust guest house, where some senior LTTE people participated in these discussions. So they had all that evidence. And so Chandrasekhar was under great pressure to dismiss him. Subramanian Swamy was also talking about dismissing. Jayalalitha on the one side. So there was big pressure. And Karunanidhi, I remember, at that time, the instructions went down the police that they should arrest LTTE people at various checkpoints, taking because food was going from here, weapons were going from here, clothes were going from here by the LTTE boats, by the jeeps and checkposts. So it became a ritual at that time. Almost every day, so many LTTE people were arrested at this checkpost, that checkpost, and media would be fed that information. And the reports would be sent to the center to show that we are taking action. And Karunanidhi went directly to Chandrasekhar to tell him, to brief him. And when he was there, Padmanabha was assassinated in Chennai. So it was a real big embarrassment for the chief minister.
And none of us expected that. If we have an iota of doubt that they might do this, we wouldn't have put ourselves in that position. Well, certainly nobody would allow Padmanabha to be in position. For two reasons, it didn't come across our mind. One is LTT started a war in Sri Lanka, so they can't afford to create a situation which is going to cause a lot of concern for Tamil Nadu government, Karunanidhi also, because eventually it was dismissed on some other account. So we thought that any reasonable person will not go down that path. That was, we didn't think that clearly, but in our mind we were clear that it is very unlikely that anyone would dare to create conditions where Tamil Nadu government will be so much embarrassed, and it might lead to their collapse, and which it did at the end of the day. And so there was many possibilities, new possibilities at the time. The government of India wouldn't want to continue that instability, whatever government it is. So things were in favor of more democratic change within the Tamil polity and Sri Lanka as a whole. That was so. That is why we reckoned, in our mind, we were thinking the space is created, and we need to make an intervention.
Padmanabha's killing had far-reaching political consequences both for Indian politics and Sri Lankan Tamil politics. The precision with which the assassination was carried out and the ease with which the assailants escaped showed Tamil Nadu's law and order machinery in very poor light. It would have a very big impact on the politics of Tamil Nadu and Tamil politics in Sri Lanka.
Yes, locally in Tamil Nadu, within India, the thing is that the chief minister of Tamil Nadu was dismissed. The government was dismissed. Yeah, 6 months is a short time in an event like that. They have to prepare. But Naba's assassination already wrote the script on the wall that the MK government is on its way out, will be on its way out. Then they had to prepare the grounds for imposing the president's rules. As far as locally is concerned, the change of government, and then president's rule, then got Jayalalitha coming to power, and the DMK took a long time to come back. As long as this cloud of the LTTE support, and then because within as you said 10-11 months you had Rajiv assassination.
The Padmanaba killing also foreshadowed Rajiv Gandhi's assassination 11 months later. In the hit squad that killed Padmanaba and his associates that June evening in 1990 was Shivaras, the one-eyed Jack, as he came to be known after Rajiv Gandhi's assassination, and Shanthan, another accused in the Rajiv Gandhi case.
Yes, it gave the ease with which they carried out the Padmanaba assassination and the ease with which they could manage to just cross the coast and escape gave the LTT the confidence that they could pull off this bigger assassination of Rajiv Gandhi less than a year later.
But Padmanaba's killing did not create an immediate political backlash against the LTT or against LTT supporters in Tamil Nadu.
They did enough of homework. The DMK helped that. The DK and other pro-Elam political media setups here, that the IPKF was a bad thing that happened. And so, it did, Naba's killing, it was a shocking, but it's almost like a house being on fire at a distance. Yes, you're upset, you're alarmed, but not really like it happened, the impact when Rajiv was assassinated. That was a turning point as far as the support for Elam here was concerned. Many supporters, strong supporters of the LTT, started having second thoughts. Of course, the ardent LTT backers, they continued the same thing, like you had the DK and then the Periyar Dravida Kalagam, those kind of elements, they continued their support. But otherwise, at one point of time, Jayalalitha was a supporter of the LTT. But after the assassination, she said, pre-assassination, post-assassination were two different things. The people changed. In fact, when Prabhakaran held his press conference in Kilinoche, which year was that? I forget. When their question was posed, how he
2002.
Yeah, about the assassination of Rajiv, he said it was an unfortunate event. Did not deny it. There was a lot of debate even within the LTT whether it was the right thing to do, because LTT lost its support base. It led to its being proscribed the organization. They are unable to shake off the ban even till today.
It was shock, great shock, and because Padmanabha was not a leader, that he was a sort of central leader, like he was not a dictator, but he was so friendly and he was so democratic and well-mannered gentleman, I would say. And it is difficult for an organization. We were, including Padmanabha, all were under 35 and 36 years. Padmanabha was 38 when he was killed. So all not young leaders of and all the organizations anyway. And so we didn't. It was a great loss. We didn't have any other. We didn't plan because it was since 1986. EPRLF was taking the brunt of LTTE's thing because everyone was going along with that or decimated. But EPRLF was standing, fighting since 86 when he started attacking them. And then it took up this task of provincial government. Because if you, in hindsight, if you see back at the long struggle of the Tamil people for so many years, from 1940s or 50s, the only net result is this provincial council system, a devolved government for the Tamil people. And when EPRLF ran it, that Northeast merger, both temporary though, Northeast merger was affected. And EPRLF, Naraja Praman is the only chief minister, the first and last chief minister of the merged Northeast province. It is very unlikely that the merger will take place. Because there are so many factors there. I don't want to go into that now. But that was a great opportunity. And in the Sri Lanka, that is the only thing which is in the Sri Lankan constitution, which is acknowledging this and devolved powers. It devolved power to all 9 provinces. It doesn't matter because that also created conditions for the periphery in Sri Lanka for fast economic growth and all sorts of advantages. And another thing, remarkable thing is in that provincial councils were created for this, to resolve the Tamil issue as a result of the Indo-Lanka Accord. But since LTTE took upper hand and resolved this, nothing was there for Sri Lanka. Remember, the rest of 7 provinces for the last 27 years, there were provincial government and there were chief ministers, including people like Shanthan K came back to power through a provincial government. But Tamil people were deprived. Only in 2012, Mahinda Rajapaksa took peace and had a provincial council election separated in the merged Eastern province. In 2013, again, there was a provincial council election in the north, which those who took the thing, that's the history now. But Padmanaba's legacy would be that in the long struggle until today, and I think until foreseeable future, in maybe another 50 years, there's nothing else is practically possible other than this self-governing province in Sri Lanka. And so that will be his legacy. I think government of India is still, despite so many changes, still believe that will be the only way out for Sri Lankan Tamils to have some dignity. And that will be Padmanaba's.
Padmanaba's funeral was held in Chennai. As a leftist, Padmanaba had links with all the Indian Communist parties and trade unions, so it was very well attended. His body was taken out in a long procession. The DMK's T.R. Balu also attended. In 1991, after Jayalalitha was elected the chief minister, her government formed the Tamil Nadu Special Investigation Team, or TANSIT as it came to be known, into the Padmanaba killing. It framed charges against 22 accused. The trial was held in a special court formed in Chennai. Among the accused was the State Home Secretary at the time, a minister in the DMK cabinet and her husband, and the brother of another political leader with pro-LTTE sympathies. All except 2 were acquitted for want of evidence. The 13th Amendment, despite the disastrous ways in which it unfolded, is still the only proposal for power sharing with Tamils that actually made it to the Sri Lankan constitution, where it remains. Though what happens to it in the future is for Sri Lankans to decide, Tamils and Sinhalese and other minorities. Thank you for watching Latitude and the special 2-part edition. You can catch the interview with Rajiv Gandhi of the EPRLF on the Frontline YouTube channel and on the Frontline site. We'll be back again next week with another episode. Thank you.